my mic on. Can you guys? Oh, yes. Can. Good evening, everybody. The Newton Planning Board would like to hold a public meeting on Tuesday, January 9th, 2024, beginning at 7 p.m. In the Newton Town Hall. First, I would like to salute the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have as you can see, a full board tonight, including 2 alternates. And Barbara, you remote? You are remote.
Yeah, I'm up here.
Happy New Year, Barbara.
Thank you. Same to you.
Okay, so the first item on the agenda tonight is a public hearing for Mr. and Mrs. Mahalati's request for a public hearing for a home-based business. It's landscaping at 65 North Main Street in Newton, New Hampshire. The property is referenced as tax map 10, block 10, lot 8-1. Jen Rowden is remote. Do you have any questions or comments on this application?
I do, and I do think it is a complete application for jurisdiction. I just want to verify with the applicant the size of any trailers they may have or any other equipment that they may want to store outside, simply because of the flux that the town is in currently with the home-based business and that 12,000 gross vehicle weight. And the zoning proposal, that's to allow it to go up to 26,000 gross vehicle weight. So there might be a little bit of a comment that I'll have depending on their answer, but that is just the one item I wanted to address with them.
Okay, if the applicant wants to come up, I'll give a little bit more clarification of that. So based on a review of our regulations, currently right now, the largest vehicle by weight a home-based business is allowed to have is 12,000 pounds.
Correct.
And in March, if the town, this is like really loud, the people of the town vote to approve, we have a amendment or a revision to our zoning regulations to increase that to 26,000 pounds, basically a CDL. So up to 26,000 pounds.
Right.
Basically, the newer vehicles are able to carry more weight that still are like a traditional 1 ton.
That's great.
So if you just want to quickly discuss your project, I know you've been here before.
This is the same application, but thank you first of all for taking up this review. Happy New Year. And this is the same application for the same home business that was approved previously in our previous location in Newton. We moved to this location. Everything about the nature of the business as well as the equipment is the same, except this location is more accessible, being on the main street. And if you have noticed that lot, there is a tree line that I maintain that we're going to expand, so nothing from the street, the few equipment that we have is not going to be visible, and that's basically it. I appreciate your time.
Okay, so kind of based on that, I need a motion to take jurisdiction of their application.
I'll make a motion to accept jurisdiction.
Second.
Did you get
Ms.
that?
White?
Okay.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Sorry. Mr. Eddy?
Aye.
Mr. Marchand?
Aye.
Ms. Burke?
Aye.
Ms. Eddy? Mr. Ryan?
Aye.
Mr. Moran?
Aye. Can we turn the mics down too, please, a little bit?
So there's no more question for me.
You just have to stay there for a second, potentially longer. But is there any questions from the board? I know a few of us were on here last time you were in front of us. I don't think We're thinking only me and Bob were here.
So the one thing I wanted to put is, Jen, they're allowed to, for working hours on a Saturday, they can go from, say, 8 AM to 5 PM, correct?
That is what is in their application. There's nothing in the town regulations that would prohibit a longer period, but for their application, they propose from 8 AM to 5 PM on Saturdays.
Right, that's, I just wanted to make sure. I didn't think that there was a regulation opposing that.
No, this would be a good time, if there's a possibility on Saturdays, you might have the occasional need to come back after 5 PM. Now would be a good time to request that little bit more time, just in case, rather than needing to come back
Yeah.
in the future. And the same goes with any other time that you think, there may be the occasion you'd need longer, but there is no town regulation that specifies it.
What I gave you were the conditions from their previous application, and there was a fairly healthy discussion, and they had said 8 to noon on Saturdays. That can be changed.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure about the hours, and that's why we brought that up, in case, like Jen said, because once we set those hours, those are set, so if you want to increase, so you were talking about during the week, 7, we'll say 7 AM, and then you said we'll go 7 AM, 7 PM is good?
Right.
Okay. And then on Saturday, you'd like 8 to 5, maybe 8 to 6?
Right. Now, the reason there was a little bit of restrictions in the other location was that was a development, subdivision, and those neighbors put that restriction on. I mean, we don't like to put restrictions, but I obviously respect whatever ordinance the town has.
Right, so we don't really have one, but we need to set a,
Okay, so,
that's why we're trying to increase it now, so that you
oh,
don't have
yes,
to come back.
please, yeah.
I mean, it's generally just following the sun,
Right, sun up, sunset, right. That's why I'm saying, so during the week would be at least 7 to 7.
Correct.
And then on the weekends too, you're not necessarily just working half a day, it would be a full day. So we could even do 7 to 7 on Saturday if you want. All right?
Mr. Chair, this is Barbara. I was also going to suggest 7 AM to 7 PM, Monday through Saturday. That way, in case he's running a little bit late for a job on Saturday, he's still within his hours.
Okay, thank you. Any more discussion from the board? Any discussion from the public? Anybody on
Yeah, yeah.
online?
You got a hand?
Sure.
She needs to step up to the mic.
I have to talk in,
Oh, yeah.
so everybody can hear me.
sorry.
That's okay. Hi, Sandra Estabrook, Newton resident and conservation. I believe this property backs up to the Bush Farm property, so we at conservation didn't see the notice of the abutters, but I don't know if selectmen saw it or somebody saw it, because it does butt up to the Bush property. So I didn't know if you can clarify that, if anyone got a notice. Jen?
That went to the town.
So who would look at that? Selectmen, us, Conservation, Planning Board?
It depends who technically holds the easement. If the town holds the easement, then it should go to the town. If it specifies Conservation Commission, which it may or may not, then it would need to go
I
to
think it
you.
might say Conservation. So we haven't seen that yet. So we're having a meeting tomorrow night. So maybe we'll see it then. So that was my concern about, he said he wasn't going to clear any more in the front to the road, but he might clear to the back.
No, we have no intention of going in the back at all.
Okay, so, well, that was my concern, because where it does back up to the Bush property, a lot of people walk out there, so I didn't want the site to be able to see if he's going to be storing things in the backyard or wherever that they'd be in sight of the Bush Farm property. So I don't know if you can specify that he leaves a buffer there or where he parks the equipment. I think 3 or 2 different spots say that there should be no outside operation, storage, or display of materials. So I don't know if he's storing the trailers and, I don't know, is it, compacting? One said compacting equipment, the other one said just trailers with, I don't know, is it landscaping? Or is it construction? On the application, I thought it said something about construction. So that was my question on that, where he's gonna store it and if it should be outside displayed. And then the hours, it is a residential area. It's a special permit to have a business in a residential area. So I don't know if you can tighten up on the hours, as, I don't know, if I was next door, I don't think I'd want clanging and banging at 7 in the morning or on a Saturday at 7 in the morning, and then trucks and stuff coming in and out of there till 7 at night either. And just, the public passing on that, that's the main road, back and forth. So that's just a few things I'd like you guys to consider.
Well, there'd be no building on site there. The only thing they're doing would be storing their vehicles. So the only thing they would be doing is driving them off. The whole intention is, the purpose of when somebody gets the business like that is so that they can register their vehicles in the state of New Hampshire to where they live. When we do a home-based business, we do not allow them to do any type of work, any type of construction on that site.
Right, as far as I always mean storing like construction equipment.
And-
Something said about a compactor or
So-
something somewhere.
And so the only thing that they would be able to store would be their trailers, and if they had a Bobcat would be permitted on the trailer. But as far as like any type of building materials or all that, that is not allowed on site.
Right, and all the refuge, if it's landscaping, can't
It's
be
not
brought
allowed
back
on
there.
site.
Right. And
Just the
then-
vehicles.
Yeah, okay. But as far as, backing up to the Bush property there, that might just be a concern.
Well, we'll let him address that.
So I understand there is a concern about, because you don't start loading the truck at 7, you take off out of the driveway at 7, so there's going to be a certain amount of loading the truck and getting the equipment ready. So I don't think it's a tough request to just push it off to 8 o'clock on Saturday morning, just for the sake of your neighbors,
Right.
And it's the time that he recommended, that he requested anyway, so it might make the neighbors feel like this would be a better fit for where they all live,
Because it is a residential first, then a
Agreed.
commercial, a home-based business or
I
whatever.
agree, because there's a chance you're gonna be loading the trucks before 7, they're just gonna head out the driveway at 7, so,
Right.
I mean, I don't know, for somebody that lives right next to CBX, I know on a Saturday morning, I don't like when I get woken by machinery or whatever,
Yeah, okay,
But that's
thank you.
just my feeling.
Yep.
By the way, what I mentioned here, I didn't say that we are going to clear more trees in the front. I kept the tree line which separates the equipment from the street. So and there is a proposed certified plan which shows there is a garage going to be built. I gave that to Jim. So there is not only a tree line pretty thick in front of the parking area where we have this few equipment, we also planning to build a 40 by 30 feet storage, very nice looking thing, which is behind the tree lines to store, the skid and the mini excavator. That's all we have. The compactor is a hand compactor, is a little one. We basically, when we get a job which is hardscaping, we do hardscaping, laying sidewalks and things like that, we order the material to be delivered to the site, so no material is coming to our site. So my house is gonna be one of the nicest, lawns that you're gonna see there. And so everything's gonna be delivered to the customer. This is gonna have a beautiful picket fence, rose bushes and everything to show off. So a customer may drive by to look at what sort of site, yard we maintain to give us a potential position job to go to their site. So no material is gonna come, no truck's gonna come to our site. And we're gonna just basically go to the site, leave our equipment, complete the job, bring the equipment.
I have a question, and
Sure.
I appreciate all the details. What is a compact? What is a compactor? What are you compacting?
Compactor, when you lay a walkway with the pavers, you need to pack
With
the
stone
material under it, the stone dust or whatnot, which is equipment that big.
Plate compactor.
You know, it's
Oh,
handheld.
compactor.
Yeah, it's a
Oh, okay, a
compact.
vibrator. Okay, yeah. Gotcha, yeah.
That's all, right. They don't want to have soil,
Didn't
you know.
say
loose-
compactor. It said
Compactor.
compact. I didn't know what that was. Okay.
Yeah. And also, you know, this was built with a very long driveway. It's about 260, 70 yards. In fact, the electrical company, they said they had to have a post there to get, you know, electricity to our house. So loading our trailer is not going to be disturbing any neighbors. There's no neighbors in the site because we're way back there. And we have no intention to infringe that area the town owns. In fact, I'm going to put a fence there, you know, on our yard. So, and beautify that, beautify it. So no, we have no intention to go, you know, in that area at all. No equipment is going to be there, no storage, nothing like that.
So just to add some clarification, the town, based on, the town would be notified, not the country.
Mr. Chair, do you have your mic off? Because I cannot hear a thing you're saying, sir. Thank you.
Is that better, Barbara? Sorry. I was just looking into our records of the town, and it appears that the town owns that parcel
Yes.
with no information going directly to the Conservation Commission. Jen, do you have anything to add to that? I know you also looked it up.
Yeah, I was looking on the town GIS, and that's the case with that as well. It's Town of Newton. It's not Newton Conservation
I
Commission.
pulled the assessor's card just to double check. Sure, if you just want to come up to the mic and just mention your name as well.
I'm Mike Mahalati, Sean's son. I'd just like to point out for the conservation issue that when we had the lot developed, that the tree company that cleared the lot, they cleared everything that we could do on the property, so there's nothing else to drop behind the house towards the conservation. Everything is already as it will be, aside from, you know, finished landscaping the property. So.
And just to clarify on the vehicle weight, right now, everything you're planning is at the 12,000 or below?
So the trucks are 11.3 or whatever, and then the trailers were 14.
Okay.
So they stayed combined under CDL 26. And they were previously approved at Nordic Wood for the same two trailers, equipment trailer and dump trailer. So
Thank you. I was just so we potentially word this correctly.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank-
Dennis, just one other thing. If they're going to be stored inside, that also eliminates the vehicle weight.
Okay, well, we're gonna put them to the side, like between the tree line and the shop, or like the garage, detached garage. So I don't think they'd be visible from any abutters, the street or the conservation area. But you know, we plan to plant like a row of like white pines to further build the tree line.
So the trailer weight that you're saying is the trailer plus what you would have on top of it, correct?
It's like the total GVWR of the trailer.
Yeah,
is
so,
14.
so Jen, that's not the singular weight, we went through this before. The singular weight of the trailer is less than 12,000 pounds.
It's like 4,000.
Yep.
Right, so it's 4,000, and then that would be, with the equipment on it, would add the weight to it. So it would be under the 12,000 pound limit.
Yep.
So you'd be covered and be able to do what you're talking about, park it next to the garage, you wouldn't have to park it
Correct.
inside.
Thank you. I'll
Yep,
sit
no
down
problem.
then. Thank you.
Any other questions? So we had, just for circling back, 7 to 7 Monday through Friday. Jim, you brought up 8 to 7 on Saturdays?
That's what he requested.
That's fine.
That's fine. Any other questions, comments from anybody?
Sorry. I was just thinking, it's a landscaping business with mowers, like
I think they do
Right behind the
hardscaping,
just hardscaping.
so pavers.
All right, so I'm interested to know, like, on these trailers, these vehicles, is it diesel fuel? Could there be possibly leakage of oil or gasoline or fuel while they're being parked in certain areas? Stuff like that, they should be careful of? Like, is it going to be on, what kind of soil surface are they going to be parking all these vehicles on? And, maintenance, like, stuff like that, oil leakage or
Maintenance is
fuel
not
leakage.
allowed on site. Maintenance
This-
has to be done at a shop.
Maintenance, right, so that, I don't know if we should make that a condition, that
It-
no
it is a-
maintenance or
It is a
outside?
condition already put in
Right.
place.
And just like leakage from, whatever, being parked there and stuff like that. Is it gonna be on like gravel? Does it specify like what he's parking them on? Just,
That's kind of tough to say because if you go around through town, you got all those vehicles, any vehicle parked
Right,
that
but-
could leak oil or
right, but part
whatever.
of his plan should show where I think he's gonna park stuff and what kind of soil it's gonna be parked on. I couldn't really see it in the application he put online.
So he's required to show or define the location of the storage, but as far as a soil classification type or potential spill plan, he would be required to follow any town guidelines, which we don't really have, then state, which is ENV02, was it ENVQ section 300.
Right,
And they can clarify it after that. If there's more than 10,000 gallons of fuel, they're required to have a spill plan through EPA. But I don't know, do you want to discuss the quantities of fluids that you're going to have?
well, that's the thing, is he takes them off-site to fuel them, he won't fuel them there, right? He won't have a fuel storage tank. That would be a separate permit, I would assume.
Yes, because he's not allowed to have any of that on site either
Yeah.
without the special permits.
So there is no, I think you're aware, there's no vehicle maintenance on this facility, but do you want to are you planning on having large quantities of fuel? Do you want to just clarify, just for the record? Just,
No, we would not store fuel on site.
okay.
And by the way, this 30 by 40 garage is gonna have a cement floor. So, if we park the stuff in there, we can clean it. It's not gonna seep into the ground.
Okay.
It's gonna have a 4-inch, 6-inch slab.
Right.
I'm sure people store their cars in their garages and they have trucks. Our trucks are bigger than average, homeowner trucks. And if you're, leaking your garage, it's no different. This is not a commercial business.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you.
Anything else? Good?
Mr. Chair, I do have one question.
Yep.
The application says that there's only going to be 2 employees, which I'm assuming could be Mr. Mahalati and his son?
Yes.
Okay, and do you have a potential at any time to have any more employees than that?
No, we can't afford it.
Okay, thank you.
It's trouble.
Okay.
Nobody else?
No.
I'll make a motion that we approve
Seconded.
with the following facts, that the plan falls within the scope of the applicable zoning and site plan regulations for a home-based business, that justice would be served by approving the application, and the conditions. You have to obtain all local state land use permits, including but not limited to a life safety inspection. Conditions subsequent: no outdoor storage of business-related materials, as we discussed. All business shall take place inside the home or off-site, as we said, as far as the materials and whatnot. Your hours of operation are going to be from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 8 a.m. to 7 on Saturday. A limit of 2 trips with the equipment are permitted per day. Only your 2 existing trailers may be stored outdoors. Any other equipment must be stored inside the garage, your pound or whatever. I mean, if your excavator is on the trailer, that's fine, or your pickups or whatever.
Right.
All right? So with that said,
I think Rena was going to second.
Second.
The other one is vehicles with a gross vehicle weight over 12,000 pounds must be stored off property until zoning is changed on March 12th, 2024, or until a variance is issued by the ZBA.
he doesn't have any over 12,000 pounds, Jim.
Okay.
But I will add for conservation that no rear tree line be reduced. His rear tree line behind the garage that he said the buffer zone will not be reduced. It'll stay as is.
Jen, just for clarification, should we not stipulate the weight and just mention per the current regulations?
I would just stipulate per the application as presented.
What I don't want to do is have them to have to come back here if he buys a new truck that's bigger.
You can-
Or you can state not to exceed the limitations based on Newton's home-based business
That's what I would prefer.
ordinance.
Just so if, because he probably has a 3/4 ton, if he's at a, just shy of 12, so if he gets a 1 ton, I don't want him to come back here for that. Did you get all that, Jim?
Yes, I did.
Perfect. So Rena seconded it. Mm-hmm. Now you have to do a roll call.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Mr. Eddy?
Aye.
Mr. Marchand?
Aye.
Ms. Burke?
Aye.
Ms. Eddy?
Aye.
Mr. Ryan?
Aye.
Mr. Moran?
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, next on the agenda is CCL Holdings of Drake, Massachusetts requests a public hearing for a 6-lot subdivision at 24 New Boston Road in Newton, New Hampshire. The property is referenced as Tax Map 3, Block 1, Lot 12. Jen, do you have anything to kind of open this up? I know they were here about a month ago.
Yeah, so I do think that the application is very close to complete or technically complete. I think there are a couple of items related largely to stormwater review. Some of these are in Mike Vignali's letter that I think you all have in front of you that need to be provided, but I do think you could take jurisdiction, and I know there were a couple of comments that maybe came in from some of the town departments. So take those under consideration, but my main concern is some missing stormwater provisions.
Okay, thank you, Jen. Mr. Quintel.
Yes, good evening. Do you have copies of the plans with you?
Yes.
Okay, you're all set, because I got a few others here if you need one. And I also have a full set in the back, full-size set in the back of the room. Oh. Of course. Sure. Good. Okay, so the owner, Craig Lucier, is here. He's the manager of the CCL Holdings. My name's Dennis Quintal, And the property is located at 24 New Boston Road. It's on the south side of New Boston Road. It's tax map 3, lot 1, block 1, lot 12. Has about 18 acres of land. Most of it's upland. There is some wetland to the south or the back of the property. A previous owner had a timber harvest that was part of the forest. The property did a timber harvest a few years ago. There were a few shacks that were on the property, like sheds or something like that, that were pretty dilapidated. Those have been removed, so now it's one vacant buildable lot. It's zoned residential A, and there is a 100-foot frontage on New Boston Road that provides access to the main portion of the property. The plans, sheet 2, shows the property where we were asked to do a development plan for this property. We first conducted a boundary survey. We had Gove Environmental flag the edge of wetlands. We located the flags and then conducted a topographic survey. And Gove Environmental then used that information to develop their high-intensity soil map, which is what's required for meeting lot size requirements. So we took a look at that information and tried to come up with a development plan that would meet the town requirements. We propose to have, as shown on the next sheet, 3, a roadway to be 840 feet long with a cul-de-sac at the end. It's proposed to be named Bell's Way. This property exists as a buildable lot. We propose to have 6 additional lots, so it's a total of actually 7 lots. Each lot meets the requirements for frontage and area, and each lot also meets the lot size by soil type. Each lot has its own well, protective zone around it, and 4K areas for the sanitary disposal. That's 4,000 square foot area for disposal areas. Test pits were conducted in each of the 4,000 square foot areas. We also show where houses can be and driveways can be put on the lot on sheet 4. We did a stormwater analysis and prepared to mitigate any increase in surface runoff from the impervious surfaces. Sheet 4, this sheet 4 shows the roadside swales will direct most of the runoff to a detention basin that'll hold the excess runoff and slowly release it by an outlet structure and culvert. It then flows through a grass swale to the rear of the property to the wetlands. This sheet also shows the test pit data. So that's sheet 4. I can come back to this if there's questions on each of these sheets. Sheet 5, because this town requirement has a negative 1% slope for the first 100 feet off a New Boston Road. You can see how, and I'm pointing toward the first 100 feet coming at a negative slope, which puts the grade even lower down at that point, so that we then had to transition to a steeper grade to make the cover over the culvert pipe that we proposed. So it's a little bit of a down and up and over to get over that culvert pipe, but that's what we had to do to meet the requirement for that negative 1% for the first 100 feet. Makes the grade so that the runoff from New Boston Road for the first 250 feet will be captured by culverts and catch basins, and then directed through culverts toward the wetland that's along the edge of New Boston Road. And on next sheet is this shows where the culvert is here. I'm pointing toward the edge of New Boston Road. Shows the catch basins and culvert pipe that goes toward the wetlands, and then to the culvert that goes underneath New Boston Road. If we didn't put those culverts in, those catch basins, which, you know, the town doesn't really like to have catch basins, but the water coming down New Boston Road would go into the project. And since it's a low area there, there's no way of getting that water all the way to the back of the property. So we had to deal with that first 200 feet or so in this fashion. So sheet 6, and again, I can come back to this if we need to. Sheet 6 shows the highway access plan. That shows the clear line of sight from the vehicles that are coming out of the project, so that you can easily see the traffic on New Boston Road in each direction. So those are basically that part of the plans. There are 3 detail sheets as part of this package, and those detail sheets describe the erosion and sediment control, construction sequences, and seeding, and how it's going to be grades, gravel, any of the gravel roads, gravel sections, and sandy areas will be loamed and seeded. All the other details needed for stormwater control and roadway specifications. So I did receive comments from the town engineer. He had 5 comments. 4 of the comments are drafting. I can go through each one of them if you need to, but 4 of them are just drafting issues. The 5th one was about meeting the stormwater management requirements of addressing runoff and groundwater recharge. So I talked with Mike McNally this morning, and we talked about changing the detention basin from a detention basin to an infiltration basin. And that way that basin will act to recharge the groundwater, and any the runoff that comes from the street would go into a sediment basin first, and then to the detention basin. The other drafting thing about that was the outlet structure for that detention basin will have to be changed to a box type of detention outlet structure. So that's just a drafting thing. So I can make these changes and submit them back to the town and to Mike fairly quickly. We do have to get state subdivision approval. And I did talk to Jen today, and the note about the stormwater being maintained by an association that note has to be put on the plan, so we'll do that. So I guess that kind of summarizes what we have before you. I'd like to think that the plan's complete enough to accept jurisdiction, and I know we got some changes to make and some drafting to do, and provide you with association documents. So I guess I can answer any questions that you have.
So by having the association take care of the stormwater release, that would nullify the second comment by KB Partners? No, actually, I think the second comment talks about the type of outlet structure that I proposed. I had just a concrete wall proposed, and... Right, but in it says about town maintaining it.
Oh, right. No, the town's not going to be maintaining it.
Right, that's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
But the roadway is,
Roadway is going to be a town road. It's not going to be private, it'll be a public road,
okay.
plowed and maintained by the town. That's one of the reasons why we didn't want to make the road any longer than we had to. As you can see, there's a lot more land up here that we could have extended it further. But we thought that this would be a better design, and actually, the owner, Craig's planning on being here anyway, so he wanted a little bit more elbow room.
He's taking the big section.
Yeah.
And in the comments, I saw, like you said, the road will meet town minimum requirements,
Yeah.
so that Mr. Bavaro will be happy with that.
Yeah, he didn't put anything else in his comments about, any required waivers or anything like that, so we do meet the requirements.
I did speak to Mike Sunday. He was a little bit busy, though. He brought up the potential for off-site mitigation specific to this project, given the condition, specifically where this road's tying in. I don't want to say it was in passing, it was directly related to this application, but we haven't had the chance to circle back of what he was looking for. I'm not sure if it was drainage improvements right in the vicinity of the
Probably
project.
just a bond for the road in
bond
case
for the
of
road.
damages during construction.
Yep.
I know the road is probably due for rehab, so we'd like to think that this project will get in and built before, but I can talk to Mike Bavaro, find out what his plans are for this year, and hopefully get this, at least the work out near New Boston Road done with the catch basins and the drainage system, so that's over and done with. But certainly, things like this, bond for any damages to the road would be typically done. I think Mike would be coming up with some sort of a number for that.
He didn't have the opportunity to really dive into it, but he did want to bring it out.
I think he mentioned it to me over the phone this morning, but he said, I'll get back to you on that,
Okay.
so.
Jen, do you have anything else to add?
Just to sort of circle back with the homeowners association being proposed to have the stormwater detention basin, just making sure the note about reporting and operation and maintenance long-term be very specified on the note. I did communicate this with Dennis, so I think he's going to stick it on, but just to reiterate to those homeowners that they are responsible for that stormwater, so it doesn't become something the town has to maintain.
I was gonna say, how is that enforced? Like, is that through the building department? Does the
Code enforcement.
planning board?
It would be through code enforcement ultimately.
Okay.
So if there were to be a problem, but the reporting requirement is that every 3 years. So the first year, once a detention basin's in, the owners have to report homeowners association or otherwise. And then every 3 years, they have to have a licensed engineer go out and report on the condition.
Is there a way, not to say that they would not clean this out or maintain it, but if it does not get maintained, it could or will negatively impact the community. Is there a mechanism that the planning board can create to ensure that at least there is a dollar amount somewhere that we can tap into? That the town can do
Not
that?
very easily. There is a mechanism in your stormwater regulations for how the town can go about if there were to be an issue with the stormwater and the town needed to then clean it out because it was causing issues. There is a mechanism for doing that, and all charges can be borne on the owner eventually. I mean, it's a lengthy process, and you hope it doesn't get to that. That's why there's the every 3-year reporting that's required.
I was kind of thinking that if the report never gets filed and then it's a mess and the town has to go spend $2,000 to go clean it out.
Yeah, that's sort of why the report not being filed, you start with something lower level with probably a communication and then a code enforcement action before something stops functioning, and then you have to go through that long, costly process.
Okay. Just curious. That was kind of for my own knowledge too. Jim, you had a comment?
Oh, I was just going to say, if there's going to be a homeowners association and part of their responsibility is to maintain these drainage aspects, that should be in the Articles of the Homeowners Association agreement, and those documents need to be filed contemporaneously with the subdivision plan.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that,
Plus, the note on the plan actually says something about if they fail to do that, there is ramification
right,
by the towns.
I'm just, in the real world, 10 years from now, I've seen things disappear. Nobody realizes that they're supposed to do that. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying that's, people come and go and move.
Well, it's the best we can do at this point in time. I don't know how you can predict 10 years down the road.
No, I know. I was.
I think we're doing the best we can. The town's doing the best they can with putting the note on the plan, coming up with the association documents, and it's all recorded in the registry of deeds along with the deeds that go for the homeowners. So
Yeah, I was hoping that there was a way to get a couple $1,000 in a bond somewhere, but it doesn't look like there is. So
I don't know how you can justify a dollar amount at this time when you don't know really what could happen or what would be happening in the future. They're
Massachusetts
responsible
does it.
for it, so I would say that if the town had a problem with it and it wasn't getting maintained, the association would be paid by, the town would take care of it and the association would have to pay for it legally.
Right, it's just a very long, drawn-out process. But, okay, we can move on. It doesn't seem like there's an easy mechanism, so.
Motion to accept plan jurisdiction.
Seconded.
Ms. White,
Aye.
Mr. Eddy,
Aye.
Mr. Marshon,
Aye.
Ms. Burke,
Aye.
Ms. Eddy, Mr. Ryan,
Aye.
and Mr. Moran.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Is there any questions from the public? Sure, can you come up to the mic and announce your name, please, for the record?
Yeah, my name is John Guinan, and I'm a longtime resident at number 26 New Boston Road. And I really haven't had a chance to review what Mr. Lucia CCL Holdings LLC has proposed to do with the property of 24 New Boston Road. From the presentation, I don't hear anybody expressing any concerns about how this impacts the neighbors or the neighborhood on New Boston Road. And it looks to me like there's a pretty significant impact, especially to the direct butters at the access point of the driveway. It is short frontage for a road, 100 feet. To build a house on New Boston Road, which is residential zone A, you would be required to have 150 feet. But to build 7 houses, you only need 100. This doesn't seem like it really falls in line with the zoning and building requirements of the town. I just recently heard the talk of a homeowners association. Does this imply that this is cluster housing that's being brought into Newton, New Hampshire and New Boston Road? In that case, the requirement is 150 feet frontage for a roadway for an access point.
So sorry, is that all your comments?
Pardon?
Was that all your comments?
No, I have a lot of comments. I had sent an email earlier today because I wasn't sure I was going to be able to make it, and I outlined a few of my comments. And like I said when I began speaking, I haven't had much opportunity to review these drawings that I accessed online. My eyesight isn't what it used to be when I was your age. I suffer from cataracts, and computer glare really does a job on me. but there's a lot of information that's required by the planning board and its regulations for site plans that just isn't here. For example, when we go to sheet 2, there are no dimensions on the boundary lines. There are no angles and directions. There is no location of abutters, wells, and septic systems. I do see a well located on the property itself, but I do not see the location of the existing waste disposal system. The property had been used as a summer residence by Irene Payne and her family ever since I moved to Newton 43 years ago. The house fell in disrepair and was knocked down by Mr. Lucia this last summer. I don't see the location of my well septic system. I don't see the location of my house, its elevation, its use, or any other pertinent structures that may be on my property. And we also have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lots where that information is not available, 10, 11 lots where that information is not available for review. Excuse me, 13. I missed one. Turning back to sheet 1, we see that the existing well still exists in close proximity to a test pit. Excuse me, sheet 3. And it's also in the waste disposal area. And although subsequent wells may be drilled, this is a conduit directly into the groundwater where a potentially a septic system will be installed. The culvert and catch basins at the access point. The culvert extends beneath my driveway and into an area of surface water, not necessarily an area of wetlands. This surface water is created by a spring, which is located approximately 200 feet back from the roadway. The wetland does not drain very well, in part because the culvert under New Boston Road has not been maintained for decades and is nearly clogged. Also, it's unlawful to disperse storm runoff water into a wetlands when the water is untreated. And those are a few of the objections I have to this, plus the fact that this whole development would greatly diminish the value of my property. My privacy is gone. We have a public access going back beyond my home. In 2022, when the previous owner harvested the trees and the town got its nearly $4,000 of tax money, I endured 3 months of a logging operation parked within 100 feet of my backyard, 5 days a week from 7 a.m. till dusk. And I'd like to know how long this development is going to take to construct, because I don't know if I can tolerate that kind of noise for any length of time. So I would like to have my email, if you have received it, read into the record as well.
Jim, did you get a copy of?
If you haven't received it, I'll forward it.
I would have to go check the email. I've been,
It was sent to planning board at newtonnh.net.
Dennis?
Yes, Jen.
If an email from this gentleman was received, it can certainly be part of the record, because it was submitted during the course of the public hearing. It doesn't necessarily have to be read into the record to be part of the record.
right.
I would like to request that the planning board reject this application as submitted until the applicant has brought it into conformance with the requirements for site plan and the zoning requirements of the town, and that all required information as delineated in these documents is available within this plan.
Jen, do you want to add clarification? So I was taking notes. You mentioned that the meets and bounds weren't on the drawings. I'm looking at sheet 1. And Mr. Quintel, if you want to address some of these, the meets and bounds are on the drawings.
They're on the drawings for the plan, but they're not on the drawings. There is a separate section. Let me see if I can find it in my notes. I got so tired of taking notes on this thing. I had writer's cramp. Paragraph 8.15, existing site conditions. Surveyed property lines, angles, and bearings, distances. It's not on sheet 2, which is a sheet that is entitled Existing Conditions. Subparagraph D, I guess you probably meet that. Subparagraph F, shape, size, height, location, and use of all existing structures, including wells, septic systems on site and within 200 feet of the site. And I just got tired of writing. There's a long list there. I went down the list, and I'd say half of the requirements are not being met. Stormwater management for new development, paragraph 11. Subparagraph B, I, no stormwater shall be discharged directly into a jurisdictional wetland or surface water body without adequate treatment.
So the town engineer made a comment directly regarding that. It was his 5th comment. So, and it was not directly related to untreated stormwater. It was to better fully address section 8.2.3.5. Mr. Quintel, briefly.
The all-season safe site distance at the access point under New Hampshire RSA.
That would be sheet
263, colon 13. All-season safe site distance of 122 meters or 400 feet in both directions along the highway. Sheet shows 200 feet.
So this is not a state-regulated highway. Mr. Quintel, do you want to elaborate on that?
Newton subdivision regulations, paragraph 8.2.4, said point shall provide adequate site distance, grade width, and curb site distance, and other specifications shall be determined in accordance with the more restrictive of the current New Hampshire DOT standards as found. And as I stated before, I haven't completed looking through these.
Okay. Does the applicant have anything to add? Do you have any statements, Mr. Quinto?
So the only thing I could add to this is that, the abutters wells and septics and house location instructions, yeah, that should be on the plan. That's easy enough to do, so I can make sure that gets done. The existing well that's on the site, that's going to be abandoned. That's not going to be there. It's an old, I don't know what it is. It's capped off pretty well, but that's going to be filled and done away with according to the requirements of the state to do away with that well. The rest of the comments, basically meeting the town requirements is what we intend to do. And so if there's anything specific, perhaps the board or Jim would be able to give me the information, and I'll certainly be able to do what I have to do.
Sure. And then Ms. Rowden, who's the circuit rider who provides some guidance and her professional opinion on the thoroughness or technical completeness of the application, has reviewed this. She provided some comments as well, in addition to Mike Vignali, who's the town engineer, provided some additional comments, 5 comments. One of them has some implications to revising the stormwater system from a detention basin to an infiltration basin, and some minor drafting revisions. So My understanding is that the applicant would be looking to address these issues as well as adding some of the additional items on the drawings and continuing this to a hearing on the 23rd.
Nope, that's election.
Okay, I was corrected, not the 23rd. The next hearing, which would be the 6th of February. Is that correct? Okay, but you would have to request a continuation.
No, you've accepted jurisdiction. You can continue it as the board.
Thank you. So at that,
Mr. Chair, I
Yes.
have a quick question.
absolutely, Barbara.
Okay, I was wondering, does the owner of this CCL Holdings, is he going to build a subdivision, or is he going to sell the lots off individually and people will build as they buy a lot?
I can have him answer that. This is Craig.
Hey, Craig Lucier, CCL Holdings. So I'm planning on building my own house on Lot 4, and as far as the other lots, I intend to build the rest of them out myself, if the market allows it to. You know, there's some gray area between maybe building a couple, selling a couple if I have to, but my goal is to build them all out. So as far as the stormwater goes, I am also stormwater certified, and I do all my own excavation and as far as building houses too. So.
And just to clarify, that wasn't pointed, my comment about maintenance
Oh,
was
yes,
not
yeah.
pointed
No.
to you directly.
Everything's changed yet, no. But as far as runoff and stormwater, I have been stormwater certified and very qualified to handle all that stuff. So.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you for answering my question.
So at this point in time, we will continue this for about sorry.
Other comments?
Yes, Ms. Estabrook, sorry.
You want to leave me out, Denny, I know.
You're kind of blocked off too. There's a,
I know, I was hiding, I was ducking. Hi, Sandra Estabrook, Conservation, and I do live on 7 New Boston Road, so this is across from me. I'm not a direct abutter, but I am, you know, I will be affected by all the back and going, and I was affected by the log cutting the other year and all that stuff, so I do live right there on New Boston Road. So I would agree with the gentleman that spoke about the existing conditions, that there's not enough information on that page, because per our regulations, you're supposed to show all what he said, 200 feet away, you know, what's on the property plus 200 feet. It's section 815, existing conditions, and, well, the one I had was, it's number F. So those details should be shown on the plan. I read the stormwater management plan, all 80, 60 pages, whatever it was. It was very detailed. So I was glad to see that they did mention that homeowners association that should be on the document somewhere. And there is a 6-page stormwater manual, so I was wondering how that gets incorporated, but I think maybe Denny did answer that, you know, the homeowners association should go by this and explains what should be cleaned, what they should look at, and all that. So I was glad to see that that got incorporated, or is going to get incorporated somewhere on the plan, so that, like they said, further down, 10 years from now or whatever, people can read it and say, okay, this is what, so code enforcement would have like a tooth or whatever to kind of read it and say, okay, you know, this is what they were supposed to be doing.
I tried.
Yeah, thank you. I looked up the tax card, and for the assessment, it says there's only 40 feet of frontage, and for ACC only. So I was interested to see how they got 100 feet now, so maybe they didn't pay enough taxes in the past. So I didn't know if that's something that has to be proven, or I'm sure Denny did it correctly, but I just did notice on the tax card it says only 40 foot of frontage.
So I can answer that if you want, Dennis. Tax cards are not surveyed lines, so Dennis's stamp that the property has been surveyed is that verification.
Okay, that's what I kind of figured. So they had a break for a lot of years on that. And then I think I have one for Denny. On the last two pages, pre and post, I think it's the drainage or the water flow or something. You can't see them in here, but there's pretty yellow lines about what's exists now and how it goes, but I really didn't know what the yellow line meant. If you could clarify. I don't think it shows on here. And then the only other thing is, it says 6 lots, and it does say 7 lots on here, so I don't know if it's a 6 lot or a 7 lot subdivision. And then that lot 7 does seem to have a lot of drainage things on it, like a lot of the property is gonna be taken up by drainage and swales, and so I was wondering exactly how many acreage is gonna be left to be buildable. And then I see there's a town right-of-way. If you can explain that, is that for the drainage, or is there a little piece of land somewhere that the town has for that? And then also on the, where they're putting those catch basins on New Boston Road, is that on town property, or is that on the property owner's property where the catch basins are? Like they said, it's very wet along that area, and is the water really going into the wetland before it gets treated? Is that enough? Thank you, sir.
I'll try to answer the questions. If I miss something, let me know. The pre and post development plans show the watershed areas and shows where the water runs, and there's
The ice.
it's the roof runoff. It's specifically designed to provide information for stormwater programs, to put information in our stormwater program. So you have to identify the slopes, the grades, the type of soil that there is there, and also the other line that goes through there, a dotted line, would be like the line of longest line of concentration, so that you'd be able to put that number in, how much time it takes for a drop of water to fall and travel down through each segment to the outlet. I don't know if that's enough of an explanation or not.
I appreciated it.
You understand it. As far as the frontage is concerned, it's 100 feet of frontage, but this will be a town road, so the catch basins and drainage pipes will be on town property, because the road will be a town road someday. And so that's part of that. Instead of including a little sliver there, that whole section I'm pointing to it, sheet 1, the first 100, 150, 200 feet, that whole section would be part of the town right-of-way for Bell's Way, and including the whole cul-de-sac circle. The site distance, I believe the site distance is what the requirements are for the town, is the 250 feet. It's not a state road. But we do have to build the road itself as far as gravel specifications and whatnot to match what state specifications are. So that's kind of following what the town regulations are, is what we're trying to do on this to meet the requirements.
So the right-of-way is proposed right-of-way?
It's a proposed right-of-way, yes.
There's not an existing right-of-way?
Right, and it's an existing lot right now as one lot. And so we're proposing to have a total of 7, but we have 1 lot there now, so we're really creating 6 more lots. So it's a little bit of, it's 1 lot now, but we're adding 6 lots. So yeah, it's 7 lots totals, but that's similar to what we did off of Thornell Road. It was an existing house, existing lot, and we created 7 lots. So it was really 8 lot subdivision. So I don't know if that is a little bit confusing to me, but that's kind of the way I understand it right now. So if you want to call it a 7 lot subdivision, I suppose you can, but it's an existing lot right now as far as that's concerned. You could say 6 lots plus a remainder.
And then there was one question about the acreage of Lot 7 and how much was being utilized by...
I don't have that exact amount, but if you look at, there's a drainage easement that includes the detention area and the swale. And as you can see, the well location is totally on the lot. The 4,000 square foot area is shown on the plan. Also shows where a driveway and a house can be built on the lot. So it also shows building setback requirements.
Does that also include structures that are 200 feet?
You mean from the property line? No, I don't have that on here. That's one of the other things.
Okay, so
You're talking about the abutting
there's
lots?
abutters to the north. Plan right.
I don't,
This is all
I don't,
down the street. When he's gonna build his house is fine, everyone else's house.
Excuse me, if you have a comment, you have to come to the mic, but I was referencing sheet 4 that shows New Boston Road frontage, that shows existing structures along New Boston Road. I'm not sure if it's all of them, I was asking for clarification.
no, I mean, I can check that to make sure that I do comply with that requirement. So I do have to add some more structures, including this gentleman's home.
Okay.
And their physical features as well, the wells and septics.
Because I was just for clarification, those weren't shown on the other sheets, but they were shown here. I wasn't sure if it was all
Right.
inclusive.
Right, right.
Sure, you can, you gotta come up to the microphone.
Actually, one question is probably understating it. Is 100.55 feet enough for a legal roadway without variance?
Dennis, can
Yes.
we answer that?
Jen?
Yes, you actually, for a residential road, only need 50 feet in the town of Newton, so this more than complies with that.
Well, I've heard words here about a homeowners association, which kind of suggests that this is a cluster housing,
It's not a...
which requires 150 feet. And I would like to understand the justification why you only need the width of the road to put a subdivision in, when somebody who would be building a house right next door to that 50 feet would be required to have 150 feet.
So roadway frontage and housing frontage, and Jen, you can cut me
I'm
off.
talking about subdivision frontage.
They're two different things.
Well, no, they're not really. You're taking one approved lot, although it's non-conforming, but it is a pre-existing conforming lot, and under today's standards, it would be non-conforming, the same as my lot. I have 113 feet, I would be required 150. In 1980, when I built it, but I had a prior approval, so I was allowed to build without a variance. So if you're taking one lot and you're subdividing it,
Excuse me, you have to speak into the microphone and address the
if you're
board.
subdividing it and retaining one lot and creating 6 more lots, that one lot would be required to have 150 feet because this is a change of use.
And all of these lots, please clarify, have
And the other
150
6 lots would also be required to have 150 feet.
All of these lots have 100.
So if you take one existing residential lot that would be required to have 150 feet, how can you put a roadway in with only 100 feet of frontage, because that's the lot you're subdividing?
So with that logic, you could not have a subdivision anywhere.
Yes, you can. I see a subdivision down on Amesbury Road that looks like it has far more than 150 feet. And if you can't have a subdivision anywhere, then you would be required to have a variance, which means you need strong justification. This subdivision is going to change the nature of our neighborhood. I'm a longtime resident. My neighbor is a longtime resident. And it's just going to change our whole way of life. I'm 77 years old. I intend to spend the rest of my life here, but this subdivision is going to disrupt that. And this is going to diminish the value of my property significantly.
So the purview of the planning board has, we cannot look at property value. It's in fact illegal.
But you can look at
We
the
can look at,
nature of the neighborhood, which nobody else in this room has addressed to this point, and whether this subdivision fits into the neighborhood. And in my opinion, it does not fit into the neighborhood.
because.
This brings suburbia into rural Newton. And if you want to maintain the rural character of Newton, you need to enforce your zoning requirements, your subdivision requirements, and you need to be very clear about them. If you're gonna have a subdivision with a homeowners association, it's cluster housing, you need 150 feet.
So I'll reiterate, this is not cluster housing. It meets the intent, it has the amount of roadway frontage per our zoning regulations, which is, Jen, 50 feet? That is the minimum you need for a roadway in town.
For which class roadway?
A publicly maintained road.
Which class publicly maintained way? Your subdivision requirements have 3 or 4 classifications of road, and I believe that this road has been classified. You need at least 60 feet because this is a minor arterial feeder, and New Boston Road is a major arterial feeder which feeds into a numbered highway.
So Dennis, this is a class 4 road that is being proposed as a locally maintained road. That is not a minor
Within your
arterial.
own subdivision regulations, it classifies major arterial feeder, minor arterial feeder, and local
The road
access.
that is being proposed would be considered a local road, which requires 50 feet in order to.
And any
so
roadway
if you-
feeding into a major
Excuse me, sir,
arterial
may I
feeder
finish?
requires a right-of-way of 60 feet
So you're,
with a 20-foot radius at each corner, which will extend it to
80,
80 feet.
which is less than 100.
Well, I don't know how you can take a lot that's required to have 150 feet and say that subdividing it is going to give you roadway frontage is along the side of the road, and it's not along the cross-section of the road.
So I will again reiterate, all of the lots have the necessary roadway frontage to meet Newton's regulations as currently proposed. The roadway does not need the frontage of a buildable lot. I'm not sure how, Mr. Quintel, if you can explain that differently, or Ms.
I don't know, but
Browning?
that's the reason why we propose a road. That's why you propose a road, is to have each lot have the frontage on a town road. Otherwise, you, like you said, you wouldn't be able to have any subdivisions, and there would be, yeah, you hate to have dead-end roads in town, but that's what your regulations allow. So I think it's the type of thing that what we're trying to do is meet the town requirements, and to be able to have this a short road that meets the town requirements and has frontage and area and meets all the other requirements as far as health and safety issues.
So would it be possible on this subdivision to increase the length of the road and add additional buildable lots?
It could be possible.
Okay.
Would you like me to look into that?
No, I was just asking.
Excuse me for a minute.
Yeah.
Is there any other questions from the board? So we will see you back here on the 6th of February.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. If there are any other questions or anything else that might come into the planning board,
And I know we have this gentleman's email.
yeah, let me know, and then I'll address them as best I can. And I'll get plans into review for you before the meeting. I'll talk to you, Jim, about that. Very good, thank you.
Mr. Chair, you need a motion to continue.
Oh, do we have to wait for Bob? So we have to make a motion to continue that hearing. Can we just, can we move on without Bob?
Excuse me?
Can we move on without Bob?
Well, you can make a motion to continue the public hearing to...
Yes. Can somebody make a motion?
I can make a motion
Emily made a motion.
for the next public meeting. Seconded.
Burke.
I thought he had to be here.
Okay.
We have a quorum. Who? We have like...
Ms. White?
Aye.
Mr. Eddy?
Aye.
Ms. Burke?
Aye.
Ms. Eddy?
Aye.
Mr. Ryan?
Aye.
Mr. Moran?
Aye. And excuse Mr. Marchand.
I was just going to say, do you want to put an alternate in
There
to
he is.
vote?
Here he is.
He's back in the room, but... Sure, how about Mr. Gibbons? Can we appoint Mr. Gibbons?
Mr. Marchand, do you
Thank you for
agree?
your input, sir.
A continuance?
Continuance.
Have a good night now.
Mr. Chair, that's unanimous.
Thank you. Okay. Third, it's a continuation of 125 Development, New Hampshire Corporate's request for a public hearing for a 44-unit residential development and private roadway for their land off Puzzle Lane in New Hampshire. The properties are referenced as Tax Map 14, Block 1, Lots 1-1, 2, 27-3, 27-6, and 27-7. Happy New Year, Barry.
Oh, my goodness.
How are you?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Thank you. My name is Barry Geyer. I'm with Jones & Beach Engineers here for the applicant. As you all know, this is a project to construct a 44-bedroom multifamily project. We have 8 5-plexes and 1 4-plex for a total of 9 buildings on a 535-foot cul-de-sac, and the construction of the remaining roadway necessary to connect Puzzle Lane from Phase 1 to Phase 2. At our last meeting, we went through the revisions requested by the board, the town planner, and the town engineer. The board accepted the plans as complete, and we answered all questions. Since our last meeting, we have obtained the variances required to construct Phase 5, including the road. The zoning board included a condition that a vegetated screen be provided to help screen the road from the Plastow abutters. The location of that screen, you're right here along the border. The condition requires that the screen be reviewed by the Conservation Commission and approved by the Planning Board. We did go ahead and put together a landscaping plan for that screen. And somewhere I actually have plans that I can pass out. These aren't included in your package because it was just...
I was going to say, you just updated these, right? Yeah.
No, the plans haven't been updated
Not
since
updated, but yeah.
October.
Thanks.
But this is the proposed landscaping screen.
Okay.
Thank you.
I need at least 2.
You have to. So you can see we have a combination of plantings. This is completed by LM Landscape Design. And if the board decides to act on the application tonight, which we would hope, we have been here quite often, we would suggest that this be a condition of the approval. We have received comment letter from the town engineer, which included a total of 1 comment regarding labeling of a detention basin. The project does require several state permits, AOT, water supply and septic systems, and is dependent upon Phase 2 being constructed, which is dependent upon obtaining our DOT permit, which we're still working on. We did receive the AOT for Phase 2, and a wetland permit has been granted for all the impacts to Phase 2 and Phase 5. So with that, I'll be happy to take any questions the board has.
Jen, do you have any?
Mr. Chair, may I make a comment? This is Barbara. It is not usually the way that the planning board does to look at something that has been just given to them without any time to look it over. Usually you don't look at stuff just handed out at a meeting.
I would agree.
we understand that this condition came about last Wednesday, so we really didn't have a chance to go to resubmit in the regular format. So we had our landscape designer complete the design, and you have it now. We had less than a week to complete this, so we wanted to get the board something that they could look at, not necessarily, which still would have to be approved, and so we would ask that be a condition of the approval.
Sorry, Ray Tilsley for the applicant. What the zoning board did last week was a little strange, but it requires us to get Conservation Commission approval on the landscape plan. So what we're suggesting is that you folks would do is to make a condition of your approval that we get their approval. We've given you what we've had on 6 days' notice. We're not expecting you to act on it tonight, but thought we should have something to respond to what the ZBA gave us last week.
I guess I wouldn't call that strange.
You know, you know how it works. They're deliberating, and we have to kind of sit quietly. So, you know, it's a little weird way for them to do it, I think. But they wanted conservation to make the decision. They knew that we had to come here for this approval. So, as I understand it,
Call it fairly typical.
yeah, it's a condition of approval that we get Conservation Commission approval of the screening. That's kind of how I see it. And that way, you don't have to decide this today, but you can at least see what we're thinking as we talk. And if you have input, we'll take the input before we go to conservation.
Yes, Jim?
The ZBA requirement is that the applicant work with conservation to develop the plan, and that it then go before the planning board for final approval. Not the ZBA, not the Conservation Commission will approve a plan. They're supposed to be working together to create a plan. There was a lot said at the ZBA meeting talking about different types and species of trees and what have you. And they had done a site. The ZBA did a site walk and saw that the tree line as it's shown there is not necessarily the tree line that actually exists.
Okay, I guess I can't make that determination.
Mr. Chair, can you turn your microphone back on, please?
Sorry, Barbara. I was trying to protect us from me coughing or clearing my throat. I guess to Jim's comment on the ZBA making a determination that the tree line is, I'll say, inaccurately shown on the drawings. I don't know either way. So, so there's a landscape plan in front of us that requires feedback or input from the Conservation Commission. The Conservation, that was a stipulation. I know that we have a representative here from the Conservation Commission. They haven't seen it because ZBA met last Wednesday. Concom meets, I have no idea when. Tomorrow. Thank you. So hopefully you guys will get together and develop something that the planning board will generally agree with. I'll leave that to you guys.
Sandra, I just have a point of order, like when ZBA came up with that ruling, do they officially send a letter to planning board and they send official letter to conservation? So I should have something in my correspondence that says exactly what we're supposed to do, and if what Jim said is right, you guys should have got one, the exact wording of what ZBA wants us to do, right? I'm not gonna go because somebody said something.
Yes.
I wanna see it in writing of what we're supposed to do.
Mr. Chair, there's a member of the Conservation Commission on the ZBA who specifically said, I will take it back to the Conservation Commission.
There's that clarification. And there is a notice of decision, by the way. I just have not read it, and I purposely do not take a look at the ZBA meetings. Okay, so we have the landscape plan in front of us. You guys will be back here tomorrow in front of the Concom. And we will wait for feedback from the Conservation Commission specific to this planting plan.
Dennis, I do have a
Yes, Jen.
quick comment about the landscaping plan specifically. I know that the ZBA did not require any sort of landscaping bond to meet this condition that they put in. That might be something that the Conservation Commission could certainly, any tweaks that they want to make to this proposal, that's reasonable. But if it comes back before the planning board, whether this or some modified version, I'm wondering if the board is going to want a landscaping bond, because that might be something that could happen as part of the other process as well.
Mr. Chair, the ZBA does require a landscaping bond to extend 2 years beyond the completion of the landscaping plan.
From when the plants are installed? Okay. And you're proposing 56
Yeah, approximately.
plants, trees and shrub, I'll call the lilacs shrubs, trees. Not my area.
Yeah, I'm not a landscaper either. But they're all, most of them are evergreens except the lilac. And
Yep.
There's a Ms. Jeffries who has her hand raised on Zoom.
Can we open this up to, we haven't really taken this.
You've taken jurisdiction, so you can continue.
Yeah.
I guess, is there any other comments on the board? Barbara, do you have anything before I take this Jeffries?
I have a quick question to ask, but I'll wait till you talk to Ms. Jeffers.
Okay. The floor is hers.
I apologize for not being there. I'm ill. I didn't think you wanted me at their meeting sick. So I was at the ZBA meeting. So my name is Lynn Jeffries. You guys know me, 12 Ridgewood Road in Plastow. And I'm hoping that you don't make a decision on a plan, as Ms. White said, that we can't even take a look at unless we're at that meeting. They went before the ZBA, the first plan was to start above my property and go up. I'm the one with the most visual of the road because my property goes lower. So I want to make sure that this plan includes trees behind my property, because right now in fact, the other day I was like, I need to take a picture so that you can see that I can see these trucks going back and forth every day. And you can't tell me that having trucks going back and forth doesn't, and I know you aren't concerned with property values, but that definitely affects my property values and my way of life.
Just a quick question, by chance, do you know your lot number or tax map? Tax map 71 lot?
I think it's the one that it juts out. I think it's 8.
That would be the one that jets out. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Jim, if you can let me share my screen, I can put the proposal up on the screen for people that are online.
Scroll down, Jim, just so she can see her lot.
The ZBA had specific locations for stations that we have to landscape between.
All right, so I'm still looking, the way they have this planned, I am still looking at this road from my backyard.
I will double check and
Because there was discussion at that meeting about it going further down.
They had specific locations for where the landscape buffer had to be, and we'll confirm that.
Yes, it's from 17.5 to 25.5, I believe.
Stationing?
Yeah, and we'll.
Okay, yeah, so there's.
That's in the right locations.
it is right now
Yeah,
from like
well,
19 plus 50 to
the arrow
2,400.
is where my
200 feet.
property, oh, you guys can't see it, we can see it. So that's where I'm looking
She can see.
at that road.
Right.
And where the trees are going up right now, that road is going further and further downhill so that the properties further up on Ridgewood are actually looking over and won't see it, whereas my property is low enough that it's right on my line of sight.
Yep, as I said, we'll confirm the location specified by the ZBA and make sure that we have the landscaping covering that area.
And Jim, just, it was 17 plus 50 to 2,400?
Excuse me?
The stationing, the
Yes.
1750 to 2,400?
2550, I believe.
Oh,
I think
2,550?
2550 sounds right.
Okay. And I'm guessing that the number of plantings would increase because,
Yeah, if we don't cover it, that's correct.
yeah, right now, let's see, 550 to, you have trees like every 9 feet right now.
Yeah, and they're 8 feet.
So, okay. So as that distance increases, you'll probably get some more trees.
Correct.
Propose some more trees.
And we're working with Concom on it anyway, so they may want something totally different.
Miss Estabrook was listening to me rambling.
Douglas.
Thank you. Okay. Ms. Jeffries, do you have any other comments before, is that, do I see Coleman's hand up?
No, I just really would like to make sure that the tree line goes down to cover, you know, if I have those trees covering my sight lines to the road, then I am fine. Otherwise, you will see me at every meeting, and I've been at every meeting just about for the 2+ years we've been doing this.
So it seems, although, as though the ZBA gave some pretty clear direction on where the screening needs to be
Well,
proposed.
when we looked at the ZBA meeting, you know, it looked like what they were doing was actually going down beyond my property. What
Okay.
they have done on this plan is not.
Yep, so it seems that the plan in front of us right now is not consistent with what was decided on and included as part of the ZBA decision. So I think you need to revise this based on the ZBA, work with Concom. When everybody tells us as the planning board that ZBA and the Concom's okay with it, then we can take a further dive into this. Unless somebody disagrees with me.
Dennis?
Yes, Coleman.
I do have my hand up, and if I may say, this is almost deja vu of Lot 4 back 10 years ago when we were developing 27-4. And with a next door neighbor that has her concern with the line of sight, I have no problems dealing with neighbors on a one-to-one basis with making sure that they're satisfied with the trees, being able to see my site. Mr. Doggett keeps on referring to species of trees. I don't think that the neighbors are really concerned with, you know, the species of the tree. I think they want to block the line of sight. And I have no problems at all dealing with one-on-one with every neighbor that they're satisfied with the line of sight being blocked. And we have plenty of trees on site, and we'll deal with everybody on a one-to-one basis and make sure that they're happy.
Okay, I appreciate that, Coleman, Mr. McDonough. So I think, Barry, you understand the changes on the drawing that needs to be made. I think it's pretty clear.
Absolutely.
Based on, yeah, and then you'll be here tomorrow.
I'm always in it.
Just to memorialize that, any other questions from the board on that? Barbara, you okay? You good?
I'm fine. The question I wanted to ask was elevation, but I think Ms. Jeffries just answered that for me.
And they're proposing, at least in my opinion, like fairly large trees,
Voice spruce is
8 to 10, or 8 to 9 feet.
Yeah, we had looked at both putting the trees on the property line and locating them next to the roadway. Unfortunately, if you put these trees, there is an existing, a really high tree line along the property line, and if we would locate them there, they may not survive because they'd have to be competing with the existing trees. So our landscape designer said this was the best location for the trees.
Okay. So I guess.
We did put some thought into it.
Work with the Concom and see us here in a couple weeks.
So Dennis, because of this being accepted 60 some odd days ago, you would need their approval to continue it, because you're gonna get beyond the 65 days if you.
Yes, we would grant our approval for the continue.
To the 6th.
Motion to continue to the 6th.
Seconded?
I can correct you, it's the 13th.
Oh.
That's all.
Did you guys?
February 6th is a selectmen's meeting.
Oh.
I wish you mentioned that.
I realize we
I wish you mentioned that like 25 minutes ago.
yes.
You can retroactively amend that other motion, but after you take care of this one.
So the 13th?
I'm good with the 13th.
Motion and seconded.
I want to clarify for, I know because there's like a time clock thing, ticks sometimes if you take jurisdiction. So is the conservation like under the gun to get this approved or done within a certain amount of time? Because I know we meet only once a month. Tomorrow is our meeting, but then we meet once a month. So that'd not be put off for another month. So I don't know if they're aware of that or like, if you could give me a time frame thing. Is there a clock been ticking?
The clock has been ticking. And Jen, can you help me answer this? So after 65 days, the planning board has to make a decision. One of those decisions could be denying the application. We're clearly not doing that because then we would have to provide justification on why we denied it. This is, I mean, they're still working on some of their, and Barry, feel free to cut me off. Like, you still need other permits, your AOT, your DOT permit. So I don't think we're detrimentally impacting your schedule right now by continuing this, but you can say that we absolutely need to make a decision.
Right, because we'll work with them too. If like they bring us a plan, then they need us, we can have an emergency or have an extra meeting too, if everyone agrees, whatever. I just wanted to see.
Okay.
So Dennis, I think my short answer for you and Sandra would be, I think it would be prudent if the Conservation Commission can see what they can do at their meeting tomorrow evening. And if there are changes that the applicant and the CONSCOM work together, it would be beneficial, I think, for all parties if you work to try and get that rectified in advance of the February 13th planning board meeting, with enough time for everybody to review the proposed changes.
Yeah, we're all set with that.
Okay, thank you. So Bob made the motion to continue to February 13th. Raina seconded it. Jim needs to roll call.
Ms. White,
Aye.
Mr. Eddy,
Aye.
Mr. Marshon,
Aye.
Ms. Burke,
Aye.
Ms. Eddy,
Aye.
Mr. Ryan,
Aye.
and Mr. Moran.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, would you like to go back and
I'll
reconsider
make
your
a motion to revise the last continuance to the 13th.
Seconded.
Let them know, right? Let them know.
Nope.
Could I make an amendment to that motion and to make sure that we send a communication to CCL Holdings and let them know of the change date, please?
I will do it right now. At least I'll send an email to Mr. Quintel.
Is there a second?
Thank you.
I did. Seconded.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Mr. Eddy?
Aye.
Mr. Marshon?
Aye.
Ms. Burke? Ms. Eddy? Mr. Ryan?
Aye.
And Mr. Moran?
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Jim, and when you, that gentleman that got up to the mic and spoke, he sent an email to the planning board?
There were like 30 emails when I got
Right.
here tonight. I did what I
I'm-
could.
What I'm suggesting is that when you get a chance and look at that, send him back an email, making sure that he's aware that it's the 13th and not the 6th, please.
I will do that, and what I'll do is I'll forward it to everybody
Yeah.
tonight.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Have a good night.
I actually don't have Mr. Quintel's email.
I have it
Can
as
you
well.
do
I
that?
can email him.
Jen?
Yep.
Okay, next on the agenda is acceptance of the meeting minutes from December 12th, 2023.
Motion to accept.
Second, this is Barbara.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Mr. Eddy?
Aye.
Mr. Marshon?
Aye.
Ms. Burke? Ms. Eddy? Mr. Ryan?
Aye.
Mr. Moran?
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Next is approval of the NEPR manifest for the total of $304.08. It's all in regards to the Schofield, Mahalati applications and CCL Holdings. So everything we saw tonight plus Schofield last week. Or, sorry, last month.
Motion to accept.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Mr. Eddy?
Aye.
Mr. Marshon?
Aye.
Ms. Burke? Ms. Eddy? Mr. Ryan?
Aye.
And Mr. Moran?
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Next is a release of a bond at 2628 Thornell Road. This is actually kind of on your plate. So many months ago, the planning board, I think I was the only one here, a condition of their approval was for a bond for plantings for a project on Thornell Road. The applicant provided a bond. They planted some trees. My understanding is that the trees have grown. The Conservation Commission has reviewed them, looked at them.
Conservation told me that that the trees were planted and healthy and thriving.
Okay. I won't say you. The commission went out there. Trish failed to mention that when I saw her the other day. But so do we have to actually vote, or do we have to make a motion to release the bond?
You need to make a motion to recommend that the selectmen release the bond because the selectmen hold the bond.
Okay.
Plus accumulated interest, which is probably about $15.
How much was the value of the bond? Do you know?
I believe it's $3,500.
Okay.
It makes 1/4% per annum, I believe. It's either 1/4 or 1/10.
Mr. Chair, before we vote on this, could Do we have anything from conservation that we can put in the file along with this request that says that they said everything is fine?
Jim, did you forward me the email? Or did you just send me an email? I'm looking right now.
The original email that I received from Attorney Flood, I did forward to the Conservation Commission. I received back a verbal, just like today, I spoke to the road agent and received a verbal comments on the Bell's Way proposal. And I tried to explain to them that I can't stick a verbal in a file. One can debate the difference between herding cat and herding chickens.
Okay. I'm reading the email from Flood to the planning board.
By the way, I believe you all received I forwarded the email from Attorney Flood to, I believe, all of you.
Yeah.
This is Barbara. I don't have any problem giving these people back their money if everything is fine, but I think that we should have something from the Conservation Commission saying, you know, they went out and looked at it and everything's fine and they don't have any problem with that either. That way we can have it in the file.
I can make that request.
If the Conservation Commission had a site walk,
I'm-
they should have minutes.
I'm looking right now.
Yeah.
Do we know when they went out there? Public hearing, 17 Thornell Road. Let's see.
That's the Norman property.
Oh,
Yeah, this is, yeah.
yep.
Yeah, opposite side of the road.
That's all right, we can make the motion, and by the time that gets to the selectmen and all that
Can we
gets done,
conditionally
we
do
can
it?
get, yeah.
Well, yeah, because Conservation's having our meeting tomorrow, so I could have Tricia look in our minutes to see if we did take the thing, and I can make sure, suggest, or that we send you an official that we went out there or whatever.
Yeah, and that way
Our
they
meeting's
will,
tomorrow, so we could do that.
we'll have it before the selectmen
Yeah,
That would be
release it.
much appreciated.
okay.
So, motion
Thank you.
is stated.
So it's conditional.
Yeah.
Thank you, Barbara, for that comment. I agree.
Ms. White,
Aye.
Mr. Eddy,
Aye.
Mr. Marshon,
Aye.
Ms. Burke, Ms. Eddy, Mr. Ryan,
Aye.
Mr. Moran.
Aye. And last on the agenda is the Invest New Hampshire update and master plan housing chapter. Do you want to talk about this now, Jen, or you want to talk about it later?
We can talk about it later. I have one really brief update for you guys, though, not related to housing, but the groundwater ordinance amendment grant that my office put in back this past fall to deal with Newton and Southampton's groundwater ordinances. We did get notification that we've been recommended for funding on that. It has to go through a few more formalities before we get the official final grant grant award, but that should be happening probably around the end of April or early May. So those of you that will still be on the board at that point, because I know we have a few people that terms are ending, yeah, look forward to working with you guys on that. So that'll be a good process to go through over the summer and fall.
What was the dollar value on that grant?
The overall grant is about 25,000. So about half would go to Newton, half would go to Southampton.
Okay.
And there's no match required of the town. It's really the planning board participation, a little bit of Jim's time for, you know, helping me get notices up and that kind of stuff for drafts of the ordinance, but those are the main costs for the town.
Very good.
Jim?
Oh, on a different subject, I don't know if everybody knows, but Carrolltown News is going to cease publication as of the end of January.
Really?
I am looking for a new home for our public notices to be published. Nobody around here was as inexpensive as Carriagetown News. So once I come up with, and I'd like everybody here, if you still read a newspaper, let me know which newspaper you read, because I'm trying to make a list. Carriagetown News was universally received in the town of Newton.
Right.
Haverhill Gazette still exists, but it appears to be Haverhill only focused and Haverhill only circulation. Lawrence Eagle Tribune is about 2.5 times the price of Carriagetown News. Manchester Union Leader, which I see a lot of tubes for in Newton, is it's like 4 times the price of Carriagetown News. Whichever way we go, it's going to mean an increase to the NEPR deposits, because we're just, but that's just a heads up. I am working on the problem, but if somebody has,
There are some free publications in Haverhill, and I think Haverhill Life and stuff like that, but I don't know if that actually...
If you can let me know what they are, I can see if they do public noticing. However, it has to be, technically it has to be a newspaper of common circulation.
Yeah.
So unless it's available in the town of Newton.
Oh, well, maybe he'll make it available.
It'd be nice if the state legislature would realize that,
So
Well, that's the problem, is Carriagetown News, who seem to be doing very well.
So they're
is
not even going to
folding.
have an online presence?
It has to be published.
Published.
It being online doesn't count because there's Seacoast Online,
Yeah,
but that's not.
yeah. But are they going to maintain an online presence?
Oh, Carriagetown News, I believe not.
Oh, okay.
I believe it's just being put to bed.
Oh, gosh.
Jen, what are other communities doing?
The majority of your neighboring communities are just using the Union Leader. Just because it's statewide circulation.
And I don't think, at least from my perspective, the planning board should do something different than conservation that does something different than ZBA. Just
It's looking very much like the Eagle Tribune is probably going to be the only option. However, that is going to add, for the average ad, about $140 on top of what's already being paid.
I don't know.
Fortunately, it is what it is, because we have to do it, so.
Unless the state regulations change, because.
Right.
There is an application in to be heard on February 13th, which is a compliance hearing that requires that I notice it. I will be using the Tribune only because it's the only one. The same size ad in the Manchester Union Leader is like $400 versus $250 in the Tribune.
Okay.
Versus $100 for Carriagetown. It'd be nice if somebody would buy Carriagetown News, in case anybody in the viewing audience is listening, buy Carriagetown News. And
I'm guessing there's a reason why
I'm guessing I'm not going to hold my breath on that.
Yeah.
Just one general option that the planning board could do. Right now, you guys tend to hear applications twice a month sometimes. You can have it be that you only want to hear applications on your first meeting of the month, And only with special exception do you kick it to the second meeting. That way, ads are only going in once a month. That can save people money. It can also cost people time. It's just an option.
From my perspective, it is super convenient working for private real estate developers to have hearings twice a month.
I don't see how it would save them money. They're still gonna pay. It's just they'll just wait 2 weeks.
You would only have to put in one notice for all of the hearings you would have in a given month, so it could be shared amongst several potentially. That's the only savings.
Yeah.
Not that Newton has a significant amount of private development, but
Yeah.
I'm just,
Gotcha.
But I'm definitely on board with the fact that all of us, as far as the board, should use the same circulation so that we can say that to the town.
One final comment, and that is for those that are considering running again. I believe the sign-up period is the last week of January into the first week of February.
whose terms are up?
I think mine, right? 'Cause
Mine, I know mine is.
Well, I took Dan Guide's spot, so I'm automatically, I have to run, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I will let people know, and I will send out an email with the exact dates.
Took it 2 years.
I did get them from Mary Jo earlier today, but they're sitting on my desk. I apologize.
Okay.
You're up for 2, right?
Anything else? No? We're good. Adjourn at 9:05.